would also like to call upon our moderator for this discussion, Captain Shiv Halbe. Please join us on stage, CEO Maritime Association of Shipowners, Shipmanagers and Agents. Captain Dinesh Jairam, Global Chairman and Executive Manager, Seaspan Fleet Management, Mumbai. Mrs. Leena Kamat Prabhu, Executive Vice Chairman, Angriya Sea Eagle Limited. Proud to have you with us, ma'am. And of course, the founder of the Naval Connection, Captain Shoukat Mukherjee, all of you on the days, okay, so you're going to roll in later. I'm going to hand this over to our moderator, Captain Shiv Halbe. It is over to you.
Thank you very much. The topic of today's panel discussion is diversity impact debate. There are less women seafarers than men because girls do not venture out to sea. It's just quite coincidental that we saw the video of the morning activity just 2 minutes ago. And for those of you who did not come there, the participation was absolutely gender neutral, if you have noticed that. We had more or less equal number of men and women too. But I will ask the men in the audience who came there, were the women not more ferocious than the men? Would you agree with that?
Let that be an honest answer.
So that was a fact. So it is quite evident that women need very little encouragement to come forward, and I think that should be the tone of the debate. On a serious note, I want to rewind the clock to the 50s when Hindi film songs were the way they were, and romantic, mellow, slow, etc., etc. And lyrics of one particular song, I do recall now, sung by none other than Mohammed Rafi. It went, इस रंग बिरंगी दुनिया में इंसान की नियत ठीक नहीं, तुम सच धज के आया ना करो, ईमान की नियत ठीक नहीं. In today's day and age, if anybody sings this song, he will be probably beaten in public. Okay, because you are actually honestly saying if you look good, you are in trouble, because I do not trust my own self. Times have changed. Have women broken the glass ceiling? Of course they have broken the glass ceiling in a number of places. We had the first woman doctor, Anandibai Joshi, in 1880 or something. She went to US and became a doctor, came back, and then went on to head the medical department of the hospital in Sangli, which was run by the Maharaja of Sangli. So yes, it has been there. We have had women airline pilots, and today, if you know, 12% of our pilots are women, which is highest in the world. There was recently a picture that we saw on the WhatsApp group. The 3 female or lady officers who have reached the rank of Lieutenant General and equivalent in the forces. All of this has happened, and we are proud of it, but not without effort. It has taken a lot of effort, a lot of drive, and more so from the women themselves. So what is it that ails the shipping industry then? Why are we nowhere near that? Number one, we keep saying we are invisible. Of course we are, that's a fact. Because what's on the horizon remains on the horizon. And the ports have always been secure. Outsiders have not been welcomed into our ports to see how our ships operate. So yes, it has been difficult. But does the shipping industry need to remain like that in these changing times? Maybe we will have our panelists talk about that, and of course I will also add in some more questions. So I think with these few words, I will hand over first to Leena for her thoughts.
Yeah, good afternoon, and I'm very privileged to be sitting amongst all of you stalwarts here from the marine maritime industry. I have a very small, mere contribution into this as being a part of the Angriya cruises. Yes, but I believe that I have experienced what you guys go through when you are taking your professions and being out of home. So I always felt a sense of pride because we have been at Mumbai for a long time. I stayed on board for close to 2 years. I would have got my CDC apparently. Yes. So here's what I feel about inclusion of women in maritime. So I feel that parents play a major role in imbibing values early in life, where they practice gender parity beginning from home. Schools also need to be incorporating a lot of sports where there is no gender selection, where girls can do certain sports or boys can do certain sports. So also values like being respectful, gratitude, patience, doing good to fellow beings are also important to be imbibed very much younger in life, because once these actions are ingrained, these are what formulate your careers at sea, especially because you all are spending a lot of time together in those enclosed spaces. Parents also need to be very supportive of the careers that a girl child will also want to choose. Shipping, of course, is very diverse and complex, and safety and being very technical is paramount. So here, female inclusion, just for the sake of female inclusion, is also not the right foot forward, because it is, as we all know, you need to be highly passionate when you want to join sea. It cannot be like any other job, so I have tried something here today, I can do something tomorrow there. It's not that easy. You are doing a lot of training, you are doing a lot of education, and are going to be at sea for a long time, extended periods of timings that you're going to be away from your home and family, and so that work-life balance also is there. Traditionally, yes, this is been a man's world from a long time. Women, as you see now, are getting into different fortes and different experiences of work professions. So yes, why not shipping? We already have a lot of women in there, but percentage-wise, we may be very few. The best example that we have, because we are sitting in Goa, is about Tarini, the naval ship where 6 young women officers went around the globe on a mast sailing boat and endeavored all those things that the nature would have to offer them, and they were quite successful. So this is one of example, and I also feel that it's very important that we need to give women the opportunity to do something. She may try, she may succeed, well and fine. If she doesn't, she'll find something. She knows her limitations. So let's not be dictative about you can do this and you can't do this. So I feel that's one of the point. Also, women at the same time need to understand that traditionally you're trying to make way into a man's world, into a dominant area where there are the opposite gender. So you, as the other gender who has not been present there, have to draw your own lines. How you come, how how are you going to address the audience, even on board ships. I feel the generation today, those in their 30s, may not feel that much of a gap where you are intimidated working alongside a woman, but the current officers on board who have not been trained or not had the experience of growing up or being working alongside women, this kind of a scenario you may find for the next 5 to 10 years probably. We see our children mingling around with the opposite sex very comfortably, and you just saw the AV where you all, whoever is here present also was so comfortable in the morning. So it's just, I think, about mindsets. Society has to just be very liberal and not be dictative about what they can do, what they can't do. And women in general cannot subjugate themselves to very stereotyped roles, because unless and until you come out of your comfort zones, you will not know what you can achieve, what you can do. So, I think.
Thank you. Very well. Can we go over to Saleha? Are you all right, Saleha, to talk? Okay, great. Thank you. Let's listen to Saleha. 3 minutes, please.
A very good afternoon to everybody. In fact, a big namaste to all of you, as Captain Nigam rightly said, any time of the day. So it's been a pleasure to be watching you over online. Since 2 days I've been following the conference, and it's amazing. The takeaways are just amazing, so much to learn. As much as I would have liked to be present amongst you all, I'm very glad that in this day and age, we can sit across the globe and be a part of any event. So coming back to the debate about whether there are less girls, less women seafarers at sea, I don't agree to that girls don't want to go to sea. That's definitely not the case. Because today we are living in times where we have women astronauts and women miners. And there are no sectors where women are not present. In fact, we have a sizable number of women joining the maritime training institutes, more than ever. So it's not that girls don't want to take up seafaring as a career. In fact, we have some of the most motivated girl students studying in our institutes. Earlier on, things were different. Parents were a little wary of sending their girls into a male-dominated sector previously, which is not the case anymore, as we all know. Nowadays, this isn't the case, since more and more families are proudly letting their girls take up the seagoing career. In fact, we hear of parents putting in all their savings and even taking loans to pay the fees for their daughter's maritime training education. The data on women seafarers in India, at least some time back, I had, which showed that over 5,000 women have passed out from our institutes. However, the number of those currently employed at sea was around 2,700 odd. So it's almost like 50%. So what has happened to those remaining women seafarers? All those who took up the training, where did they go? Why do we have just the 50% of that number? What are the reasons? Somewhere along the course of the career, the numbers started thinning down, and there are many factors. I work very closely with women seafarers because we have a 24/7 helpline. In fact, I'm in one-to-one contact with most of them. So a lot of the problems are discussed. And in that course, I realized that a lot of challenges they face. I mean, they come with amazing motivation, but somewhere along their careers, things are different. The challenges that they face do tend to temper them down. So what are those challenges? Number one is marriage. Husband-in-laws may not be supportive of the lady continuing to sail. Initially they agree, but later on they may start pressurizing the lady seafarer to give up the shipboard sailing and take up a shore-based position. Then we have the body's biological clock, which is ticking away. When the lady seafarer decides to go for a family, motherhood comes with its own challenges. Husband or in-laws are not supportive of a career at sea. So most of them, again, pressurize them into shore-based positions. Even if the lady wants to go back to sea post-motherhood with the family, the sad part is that there is no support available. Our companies don't have the policy of family carriage for women seafarers. Why is that? In this day when we talk so much about women seafarers, we want to increase the number of women at sea. Why don't we have policies? How many companies are really having that kind of policy? Then we also have the frequent and growing number of sexual harassment cases, day by day, which are not being addressed rightly. Many a times the lady seafarer is taken off the ship and the culprits are allowed to continue working. Why this kind of discrimination? We're still in that phase where we are trying to, eliminate the victim rather than the culprit. So unless we create ecosystems that support women, we can keep harping about increasing the number of women at sea. I mean, as an industry, we're doing an amazing job with creating awareness. We have growing number of students joining the MPIs, but these are the problems, the challenges that the women are facing. So we need to look into these closely and find resolutions. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you. You did touch upon the societal support to the women for sure. That is indeed a challenge. And you also touched upon the issue of harassment, sexual harassment or some similar on board. And to that effect, I must compliment the Director General of Shipping that they have come out with a notice which is ahead of the times. Because other places there isn't one formal notice like that about gender sensitization. And at the pre-sea level and at the post-sea level. Of course, at the IMO in the recently concluded HTW 9, which was from 6 February to 10 February, there has been a paper presented for change in the PSSR course to include gender sensitization, sexual harassment, sexual assault, etc. It remains to be seen how the existing seafarers will be brought into this ambit, because those who have finished with their exams and moved on and become masters and chief engineers, they do get that they need to be addressed as well. So there will be something about it.
Isn't it supposed to be also post-sea and revalidation?
Well, revalidation is included, but at the moment in India, only engineers do a revalidation course. Deck officers do not do that. So that's why I was a bit silent on that. Post-sea courses, I mentioned, every competency course, there is a requirement to do a gender sensitization. Module is there. It's a 6-hour module a day. And for pre-sea courses, it's 12-hour module. So that's there. That's come in the notice. Revalidation course is included in that, but not for deck, because deck doesn't have a revalidation course.
There was a discussion with the past DG as to how we address the deck issue as well.
It remained at that level. It needs to move forward. So
I think that's an action point for us.
it needs to move forward. So there is an issue, and it needs to move forward, because the challenges which Saleha mentioned have to do with the existing seafarers.
Absolutely.
Not so much with the new ones, because the new ones, they have gone to college. Like we had the young girl here, Cadet. She's already, she has colleagues who are men. So for her, it may not be such a big problem dealing with them.
When we had discussed the gender sensitization training, where it was to address even existing seafarers who are there on board the ships, who have not gone through the training. Like this is something that we take away and then we come back to the solution.
I did mention that even the IMO has discussed about existing seafarers, though they haven't come out with a module, they have not addressed that, though they have understood that it needs to be addressed. So they have done something about it. In IMO it moves slowly. It isn't maybe as quick as we would like it to be. But our DG did not wait for IMO. The gender sensitization module has come out before that. Okay, so much for that. Captain Jairam, Shipowners representative.
Thank you.
Let us hear from you, sir.
Hi. Thanks to Saleha and to Leena ma'am and to our moderator, Captain Shiv, Halbe, to all the in-person audience and the people who are watching online. Diversity, equity and inclusiveness has been a topic that I think many people have touched throughout yesterday and today in bits and pieces. And I'll give you a little shipping perspective from a shipping company side and what we feel about it. One is your question about there are less women seafarers because girls don't want to venture at sea. I think the maritime associations, the maritime training colleges have really not done enough to reach the students, the younger students, and to come across what is there for him as a career at sea. Why am I saying is because most of the girls that I've interviewed, because we've been working on a ship for nearly 10 years. And we started from Philippines, from South Africa, and then Hong Kong, India, and thereon. So most of the girls that I have spoken to during the interview sessions, they have all said that most of the information they got is from YouTube. So somewhere we're not reaching the students and getting a career point of view across to them. So that's an area where we got to improve as a shipping fraternity from all sides. Then what I attended recently a symposium with Kamat, and what they did is they brought one of the women masters. They brought a women chief engineer to speak to a women audience. There were like 600 girls there in that audience. Then they got people from the Maritime Association, International Seafarers Women Federation. They came and spoke. Where Capt is there. Then they had the institute itself talking about a career path. And then a few shipping companies which spoke about placement and what they do for the women at sea. So it's kind of an end-to-end solution for the girls to think in that direction. And they, on their campus, they have an all-girls sailing school of 600 girls, of 500 girls. And that is going to go up to maybe 2,000. So there is a system where you can feed in a whole lot of women seafarers from there. So those are the cues that others should also pick up, where we can bring in more women into the shipping fraternity. And of course, COVID over 3 years changed a lot of things, and the recruitment for women at sea has slowed down a bit. But I see this year has really picked up pretty well, and we are able to recruit cadets like now and for the next year and the year after in advance. And there are more and more women who are coming out to sea, which is a good sign. Then another thing, like we already mentioned, is that you need to convince it's not only the student but also the family. But that's how it is, I'll give you two small things that my experiences during recruitment interviews. One is when I asked one of the girls that you're coming into a man's world and where do you want to come and join at sea? And she said, that's the career that I've chosen and we will change it to a woman's world. Then, these are very young girls who are talking like this. Then there's another girl that I asked her the same thing, and how did you join and what is the process? And she said that, and what were your parents? So she said her mom was like neutral, but her dad said absolutely no, over a dead body you're joining a career at sea. But she was very focused. And what she did is, she did all the examinations, entrance, and then towards the end, she was selected, she booked a flight ticket. She booked the flight ticket of her parents without telling her parents, because they would not give it to her at all. And then the countdown started, so many days. Then it was just a few hours for her to leave. And in the end, the parents relented. They went with her to the campus, and then she joined, and she's part of us. So you see the focus where these young girls have, some of them. But we as maritime, people, or not only the training institutes and all of us, we should help the parents understand what career the girls are choosing and how safe and the opportunities there for them. That their whole vision towards life will totally change once they have a career at sea. And there are these associations like Maritime CEO, Vista, and even MUI, the Women's Wing, Saleha, and all of them. They're doing a great job. They have so many seminars, and they talk. When women talk to women, it makes, they connect better, rather than me trying to explain and talk to them. So that helps a lot. Then, biologically, we are all hardwired. So we prefer people who look like us, sound like us, and that's where the diversity comes, the employee engagement comes, and understanding the difference between an unconscious bias And first time when you see somebody, there are sometimes even simple things like name of a person or the appearance of a person, we have biases, especially in recruitment. So these are all things that matter for hiring, especially when women are concerned. So fair isn't everyone getting the same thing, but is everyone getting what he or she needs in order to be successful. So we have to build credibility and also some extra tolerance and understanding from our side as a shipping company. So we are, we are inclusive of all the people that we hire and bring into the fold. So can I take 2 minutes and just talk about some general issues on board, maybe for discussion or
Maybe we'll ask
two
questions.
Okay, sure.
Then we can.
Sure, please.
Thank you.
Thanks.
From the recruiter perspective. You mentioned about unconscious bias with the name. On a lighter note, very lighter note, maybe our Sikh community has got it nailed. Jaswinder doesn't tell you whether it's a boy or a girl. So there is light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe we need to follow some right people. One question I have for you ma'am, and Saleha. Earlier we were talking on this platform about retention problem, and that when you recruit women, there is a genuine retention problem because of motherhood, marriage, etc. And these are biological facts. There is no hiding away from that. And the younger generation not wanting to stay long enough, etc., it was touched upon. Maybe as an industry, we aren't doing anything to address this issue. We are looking at it and then moving away from it. So why can't we think about following a practice that you do some time on board, then you do some time ashore, then you go back on board. And mind you, it is not a brainwave I have got, because I was just thinking, there are a number of, the largest shipowners are the Greek shipowners. And there are about, I think IMEC has the number, I think there are some 700 Greek shipowners. Am I right, Francisco? Somewhere I remember reading your document that there are 700 Greek shipowners approximately who own 1 to 2 ships. That's the typical Greek shipowner. That's the profile. What they do is these ships are operated by the family. The chief engineer, his nephew is, the superintendent. When the chief engineer has to go on leave, the nephew comes as chief engineer and he sails. The master's brother is an operations manager. He goes back on board and sails. So they run the ships within the family. They don't hire any outsiders. Okay. If they can do it as a family, why can't we do it as a structured system of operation? What stops us? So maybe, okay, it will cost more. Of course it will cost more. But you want retention also. You don't want to pay for it also. Come on. I mean, you have to. And at the same time, all these guys who don't like these, I find that from BMW 7 they have upgraded to BMW 8, So how does that work? So your thoughts, please, and Saleha after that.
Okay. So I think as far as retention goes, as a company, good companies normally, they don't differentiate between men and women. All are treated similarly. Just like the job scope on the ship as well, they are given the same type of jobs. But of course, there are, sometimes we hear things where people don't allow the women to go on deck. They give them jobs only in their accommodation. They think they may not have class. All these kind of things. But as far as retention goes, if the company has good policies and the company looks after the employees, whether it's male or female, and they have opportunities where they can grow. Whenever they're like, for example, with us, whenever there's a show placement, it's always advertised within the fleet. The first option is given to the seafarers. If they choose it, they get it, or then look for somebody from outside. But yes, like what you said, there will be a cost attached if you are trying to, place people ashore as the numbers grow. Right now the numbers are small. Like even with us, we only have about 60 women seafarers. And that we're trying to build, and we're trying to increase that capacity to at least 30% women intake among the whole cadets that we take on a global level.
So wonderful. Saleha, would you like to say something?
I would agree, Captain Halbe, what you have suggested is an excellent strategy wherein we can have a structure of some months the lady seafarer spends on board and then certain months in office. That would even get her to get acquainted with the shore-based positions, at the same time be available to her children as well. And also, family carriage should be really looked into because just as male counterparts get to carry their family and the children get to see what their parent is doing. For a lady seafarer, her children also to learn and be proud that my mother is a chief engineer or a captain. So that would really go a long way, you know. So that really must be looked into.
Thanks.
Because at the end of the day, we are seeing that the numbers are thinning down and we don't have as many women in the top management positions. How many of them are really rising to the chief engineer and master position? Because most of them take shore-based positions earlier on, you know. So we really need to look into this.
Thank you, Saleha. Regarding family carriage, isn't a woman officer accorded the same benefits as a male officer? Because generally at the moment in India, it's officers who are permitted.
All are same. It's a seafarer's family, not a man or a woman's family.
Okay, at least some side. But let me tell you, Saleha, there are some people who are saying there is no difference, but as far as I recollect, they work for the Scandinavian companies. So,
No, there is no difference.
there is no difference. Okay, great. There is no difference. So maybe you need to
Only the spouse
relook
has to say because
permission is for spouse to sail.
Spouse has to say with the child.
Yeah, okay. Spouse has to be with the child. Yeah, okay. But that's what happens when a wife is there. She looks after her child. Yeah, sure. Okay, if that is the case, good, wonderful.
I remember, Captain Halbe, I remember some women seafarers telling me that our companies are not allowing that. They have the policy for the male counterparts, but not for the females. I'm just hoping that this is positive if this has happened now. If
Great.
all companies are like, nothing like it.
If since you know this, and since you now heard that there are people, there are companies who do not differentiate, maybe as Maritime Union, you can take it up with those companies who are differentiating so that they do not differentiate. That would maybe the order of the day. Ma'am?
I presume he said that the spouse can travel with the child. Even correct. Correct.
So if a lady officer is there, then her spouse and child.
Yeah. So I just maybe I'm just voicing my views on what Saleha said. So if this this categorization is made for a woman or a woman seafarer to travel with her spouse and child, probably because the spouse is also working elsewhere, may not be a seafarer or anything to do that with that matter. It may not be convenient for the spouse to be traveling for 2 months, which is again you are getting in the zone that a woman is not working, hence she is carrying her child and traveling with the male seafarer. Yeah?
Women are also working, madam. They can divide the working
You know, sometimes the child is also traveling with the father, without the mother. So there are cases where the father has said that my son wants to take up a career at sea, but he wants to get a feel of the ship. And is it okay for him to sail with me? Like normally most companies will say, no, the mother should be there. But then a good company will say, okay, fine.
There is circumstances. There are circumstances. Circumstances. 3 years you may say no. 10 years you may say yes. There may be some. One. I think I will keep a last question before I go. There is something called Armed Forces Medical College. I think you have heard of that. Pune. They have men and women officers who become doctors and they join the armed forces. But before they are inducted into the armed forces and once they complete their medical education, they have to do what is known as a boot camp because they are converted from doctors to soldiers. Because at the end of the day, they are soldiers. And when they do that, there is no leeway given to men or women. They do the same task. They get up at 5 in the morning and go for a route march. They have breakfast at 8, then they have to go for target practice, whatever they do. And there is no leeway. And why I'm telling you with this confidence is because my younger sister is a product of AFMC. And I used to joke with her, "Tu kya 5 baje uthegi time?" But she did get up, and that was surprising. And what she told me was that their drill sergeant would simply say, "Then bullets fly, it makes no difference whether it's a man or a woman. You get hit, so you better be prepared." Given this backdrop, shouldn't the training in the maritime sector be the same absolutely, with no differentiation of women not allowed outside the accommodation, inside the accommodation?
Yeah, when you want to be parallel, you have to go through everything at the same balance. You cannot, at that point of time, you cannot get your perks.
Thank you. Questions? We have time for 2 questions. Captain Pradhan, only 1 question, not 10. There is 0 is silent.
I knew you would say that, so it's not a question, it's just a comment on. I fully appreciate all your views, you all are dead on. But while employing, I do have experiences. I've been a master on a passenger ship, handling 140 girls under my belt. So what you need to do in the office, the policies have to change is, first thing, you must have someone to represent the women on board. So you need a crewing manager or a DPA who is a woman, so they can, get in touch with each other and these views, because sudden illness is also, the girls are not going to speak to the gentlemen who are very gentle in the offices. But still, there are limitations. Other thing, we need a little bit of a change in designing of the ships, because the toilets, the accommodations needs a little bit of a tweak. So that the owners will need to come forth with in future. Ensure we at least have minimum 2, if not 3. One of the senior officers should be a lady when you're putting the girls on board. So this will take a lot more care of. That's it. Thank you. No questions for you.
Shiv, thank you. Shiv, can I just take 2 minutes?
Sure.
Yeah. I just want to let everybody know what we do as a company. So there may be some companies which are not hiring women, and those are good tips and pointers for them to when they're hiring women. So one is you have to have a cultural change in a company. So this has to come right from top. For us, right from the board to the CEO, it comes on. They keep asking us, what's happening, how many women in the organization, what is the target, what are you going forward? So there is support from the top. Then, and the management also must speak about it internally, externally, about diversity, inclusiveness, and these kind of things. The company should have a very strong harassment and bullying policy, where it's a no-nonsense. If something goes wrong, the guy's taken off, investigation is done very clear, and you deal with them very fair and square. And what we have done is, we have allotted 21 ships where we place women. So you'll always have 2 or more women on these ships. So they always have a companion on board where they can discuss their issues, their problems. Then in the offices, we have 4 offices where we have engagement champions. They are also women. So if they need to talk to them, they can, whatever the problem may be, they can discuss on their level. And then it comes and escalates to us. Then we also have employee resource groups in the office, different offices. So we talk about how we can improve the DEI, and I myself being the co-chair for the DEI. Then there are social connect groups, like there's a group called Seaspan Queens. That name is given by the women, and all the women, irrespective of the nationality, they are connected. So when a new person joins, the seniors mentor them their own way. Because one of the most difficult things that when we talk to the cadets, they tell us is drawing the line, when to say no, and what we spoke about sexual harassment and bullying and all these things. They're very young, and they don't know that, what to do or what not to do, especially when they're dealing with somebody like a captain on the ship. Because his position is very, very high, and the cadet is way, way below. Then things like, sanitary pads, tampons, carriage, if they can buy at cost, disposal procedures, all these things should be laid out in your procedures clearly. Then gender sensitization training, what we spoke about. Now we have hired a company which does that for all the people on all the ships. So many times we found the problem was not with the women, the problem with the men who are already there with us. For them to accept the women in the workforce. Then advertisements. if you see the Seaspan advertisements, you have a women face with advertisements. So that's what we are trying to project, women right in front. Though we are hiring more men as of now. So those kind of changes, and also now for the new ships, we have additional cabin spaces. We have toilets on the main deck, changing rooms, again only for women. Then unconscious bias training for all the employees across the fleet, no matter where you are. And right from a COE says that we should be a company of choice for female seafarers. That is the vision they have. So we are all kind of motivated to move in that direction. So I think all of us should follow this journey. So when we do this, then our journey will be our destination towards women empowerment and gender parity. Thank you.
Saleha, do you want to say something, or do you want to close out?
I think what Captain Jairam has just mentioned, I think that's really motivating, and all companies should follow suit. I'm sure most of them are doing, but this is like too good to be true. And it's really nice to hear that these are the changes being implemented, and if the entire district makes a very conscious effort towards it, I don't think we'll be having these kind of discussions in the future.
Yes, 5 years from now, this topic should not be there in any seminar. Absolutely, then we have won. No question. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Shoukat, have you finished on time? Thank you so much.
We closed,
Thank you.
Captain Halbe. Thank you to our esteemed panelists. I'd like to welcome Captain Shoukat to do the honors to present a token of gratitude. Yes, Captain.
Okay, so
Captain Nitin Don, please
yeah,
come up
can I
on
call
stage
upon
to
Captain
join us.
Nitin Dhol again, the local gold flavor, to present the memento?
All of us.
Oh, thank you.
And Saleha, I would like to thank you personally. This is for you, I'm showing it in camera. This will reach you either when you meet me, come here in Mumbai and meet me, or when I go to Istanbul next. Okay, so this is for you.
Thank you for joining us, myself, all the way from Istanbul. Thank you to esteemed panelists.
Really, take one picture.
She just went offline.
Can we just see?
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
Saleha, we are taking a group picture with you at the background.